Hello, everybody. It's Friday. What an interesting week. Well, today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, but really, it's going to be a story about Bitcoin and MicroStrategy because there's so much strategy out there. I saw some interview on TV and a clip on YouTube, and I was like, nobody understands really what MicroStrategy is. And there's so much out there that's just been, I don't know, it's just giving the thing a bad name. So in answer to questions that people have, how high could this thing go? What are my price targets? What's it made up of? How much debt do they have? Etc., etc. I'm going to break it all down and talk about all of that too. And this is going to be called MicroStrategy Price Targets, but so much more. And again, the so-called analysts on Wall Street and TV, it's like they spend maybe 60 seconds trying to research a stock and they see numbers. Oh, bad numbers, 2020, whatever. I'm going to try to spell all that garbage. And also, by the way, Bitcoin pumps on weekends, which means Friday is a good time to buy MicroStrategy. Anyway, now this is investment advice and just a guy on the internet. And let's go. And don't forget, if you want to get smarter, subscribe to the channel. First of all, let's talk a bit about some of the FOMO going on right now. Obviously, big Wall Street firms continue to jump in to MicroStrategy. You got, of course, Michael Saylor owns 14.25%, and 11.7% is held by Capital Research Management Company, and then Vanguard 7.3%, BlackRock 6.2%, etc. We've got some new people as well. State Street are in there, Geode Capital Management are in there, Susquehanna are in there, Two Sigma Investments, Northern Trust Global Investments. So a who's who list of people that are really trying to snap up as many Bitcoin proxies as they can. But there's also a lot of concern right now about if, when the Bitcoin ETF launches, will that hurt MicroStrategy? We'll talk about that too. First of all, we know Michael Saylor, shout out to Michael Saylor, friend of the channel. Big respect, but I love the way he just breaks things down in real simple terms. The next logical step is for Bitcoin to do a 10x from here and then a 10x again. And I know it's hard for people to comprehend exactly what that means, but I'll show you how it backs into some of my price targets as well down the line. Now, let's talk about the first piece of concern and FUD, etc. And this is all about debt. Now, I do believe if you can finance something at 0% interest, take the money, because money is debasing fast, at least 14% per year. But this is the three big tranches of debt that they actually have. The little arrow on the left shows you where the halving is in April 2024. The first tranche is 0.75% senior convertible notes. Again, very cheap debt, $650 million of that. Next one is out to Feb 2027. By the way, Feb 2027 is before the halving in 2028. Could be at the end of a bear market, but a lot can change in that time frame. But that is $1.05 billion at 0% interest. Imagine you're given the opportunity to borrow $1 billion at 0% interest and buy Bitcoin with it, and then wait 6 years. That is the biggest no-brainer on the face of the earth, and kudos to the MicroStrategy team for nailing that actual loan. Third one is out to Q2 2028. It is $500 million, and it's a 6.125% senior secured note. And by the way, MicroStrategy is a going concern. They are in the software business. They're making profit. They're pivoting into AI, etc. Cloud-based software, it's growing, it's profitable, and they're doing pretty okay. So they can afford to service that debt, but the rest is pretty much debt-free. So let's look at this. This is where kind of people get confused because they listen to TV and you get these analysts on TV, they say, oh, MicroStrategy lost $1 billion. No, we've been through a bear market. They don't understand when the price of Bitcoin falls, they got to take it on the books. So here they had that whole digital asset impairment charge of $918 million. Yes, because at one stage, Bitcoin did dip hard, and that is what freaks people out. They are not losing $1 billion a year in their software. It's a Bitcoin impairment charge, and the GAAP accounting rules are going to change to cater to digital assets going forward, so it'll be a great thing for the world. Now, One of the things I like, and I remember Greg Foss, you know, the return is always in volatile assets. It's like, do you want a horse that kind of hobbles along really slow, or do you want one that bounces all over the place and goes really fast up and down all over the track? Well, that's volatility. And you can see here, MicroStrategy is twice as volatile as Bitcoin over the history. And that's interesting too. By the way, you can see that other things that are on the list, Nvidia, Meta, Tesla, they're all volatile assets. And guess what? Coincidentally, I happen to own them as well. The return is in the volatility. Don't let that scare you away. All right, you want volatile beasts in your portfolio in this time of disruption. Now, this is a short video today. I forgot to mention I'll be doing one on the job market right after this, so hold on tight. But people don't like when I mix macro with stocks or even crypto. But here we go. MicroStrategy unrealized gain on Bitcoin holdings today, $780 million. Getting close to that $1 billion amount of unrealized profit on holdings. By the way, their most recent purchase of only 155 Bitcoin is their smallest buy ever. It's getting more expensive to buy, and that's just what's going to happen. But still, they're nibbling away, and now they got that nice big round number of exactly 158,400 Bitcoin in the bag, which is big. And as you know, there'll never be more than 14 million Bitcoin because 5 million are lost. They continue to be lost on a daily basis. And therefore, this is over 1% of the total supply that'll ever exist, held by one company. Now, let's talk about price targets. First of all, let's break it down and bake in the sandbagged price targets I have for the future. So, my fourth halving bull run price target for Bitcoin, 81,858. That doesn't mean 2024, it could run into 2025, but that's where I think we should definitely easily achieve. In fact, we're at 35K now, more or less. So going from 35 to 81 isn't a big stretch for Bitcoin. However, a lot of things will change by the fifth halving. Considering monetary debasement and everything else, I do expect 2028 Bitcoin, or 2029, Bitcoin could hit 424,000, maybe a lot more. And then by 2032, 863,000. So this is an exponential asset with crazy returns. But remember, it's the hardest asset in the world. That's why this is so fascinating. So let's take some of these numbers and play them out again. Again, we're looking at 80,000, looking at 24,000, called $500,000, and we're looking at nearly $1 million. What would that mean to MicroStrategy price as we go forward? Question I get a lot. So let's look at our model. This is the Patreon MicroStrategy ARB model. And if we take prices like $80,000, that should result in a fair theoretical MicroStrategy price of $943, which is a big return from where it is right now. Right now, the current quote is $454.36. If we go to, let's say, $500,000, that is a $5,670 price target. And the other key things you can pull from this is the actual amount of so-called premium. If you look at the market cap compared to the actual Bitcoin holdings, there is a little bit of cap at 14.61%. But remember, the intrinsic value of MicroStrategy before they even bought Bitcoin was $1.2 billion. So you got to do all the calculus in your head and figure out exactly, okay, how much is their intrinsic value worth? How much are they worth with their ability to do what I call financial jujitsu, to borrow and buy Bitcoin, especially at 0%. There's a huge value in that, especially with rates now. If you're trying to borrow that money now, it'd be like 8-9% easy, maybe more, considering the nature of the business. The other key point from this chart too, I do want to mention, the other question I always get is how many MicroStrategy shares does it take to have one whole coin? Yesterday it was 88.5 shares. Today it's 88.849 shares of MicroStrategy. It does change all the time. And that's a very good target to try and achieve as well as we go forward. Let's look at a couple of charts now and go back in time. First of all, this is the Bitcoin MicroStrategy pair. The thing I want to emphasize here is the red line across the middle, up and down, is the 200-day moving average. And you can see the fluctuations. This is the beauty of this asset. It's why I love it, is because it's so volatile. And you can see this up and down, crazy volatility. It is beautiful, and it's great to trade the arbitrage between these two assets. Now, right now, it's about 76 shares per Bitcoin, and the average is about 83 shares per Bitcoin. So ultimately, it should mean revert back up to that level. Very important to realize where we are on this chart at any given time. Also, Bitcoin versus MicroStrategy since the Bitcoin acquisition began in August 2020. That seems like yesterday to me, but it's a long time ago. But MicroStrategy is up exactly 212%, and Bitcoin is up 199%. Now, of course, you could argue the 212%, depending on the exact date you choose, but I think I chose August 20th or 25th, and I may be off by a couple of days. But either way, MicroStrategy has actually outperformed Bitcoin over time. And if you play the ARB, you can turn that into a little cash machine. In addition, speaking of the ARB, this is from the ARB cloud here. You can see, coincidentally, we're closing right at the top band. This morning and yesterday, it peaked above the cloud. And that's typically a time where you can pivot your MicroStrategy back into Bitcoin. But before a weekend, that can be very dangerous because Bitcoin can bolt. And then you get a big jump up on MicroStrategy price on the Monday morning when it opens again. And when you see things like this, and you're comparing an asset that trades 24 hours a day to one that trades only 20% of the time when markets are open, or 19%, whatever the time is, it's kind of ridiculous. I always say we'll tell our grandchildren one day, I remember when stock markets were open less than 20% of the time. They won't be able to understand what you're talking about, but that is a reality. But if you look at this, you can see the incredible strength of MicroStrategy. You know, when it's down low, that's when you buy the shares. When it's up high, that's when you can maybe pivot the shares back into Bitcoin as well. Very lucrative. Or do other things. But the point is, as we saw from above, FOMO is happening. People are beginning to buy miners again after kind of a quiet late summer, but they're also going into MicroStrategy hard too. So, charts out of the way. One of the things I did do exactly 4 months ago, and people asked me, can I have an update please on retire MicroStrategy? Well, that plan is up 68% in 16 weeks. And it gives people the discipline to jump in and build a plan. But that is a big gain in just 4 months, and that's how exponential these assets are. Let's go back to that exact slide back then. So I had my price predictions for 2032 from MicroStrategy. My low end is $6,400. My expected case about $10,000 a share. The bull is about 11,448. This is all tied to my Bitcoin price targets, by the way, in 2032. And the average of all is 9,299. So to get a retire on bag that would pay you $5,500 a month monthly spend for 25 years, the cost to buy that bag on average of all those targets would have cost you $22,000 4 months ago. Now it would cost you $37,000. That's how quick this thing moves. That's why you always hear me say, get in early, get in hard, because these things are exponential. In addition, remember risk as well. So there's a couple of elements here I do want to hammer home to you all. And I know a lot of people in the community have MicroStrategy, and a lot of questions come in all the time. But remember, it's always good to have a majority in pure form. I bend that rule a little bit now because I made a whole plan in the summer of 2023 to my Bitcoin strategy. But remember, MicroStrategy is a proxy, and that comes with elevated risk over holding pure Bitcoin, and you can manage risk accordingly. But also, the reason I like this is for the following: why I believe it's better than a spot ETF. And again, the question I get 100 times a week is, well, is the spot ETF going to kill MicroStrategy? I don't believe so. Let me explain why. And this is from their recent report. So if you compare MicroStrategy to Bitcoin, to futures ETFs, to spot ETFs, to GBTC, etc., you've got a whole bunch of different features. First of all, the MicroStrategy is very accessible. You might have a pension account in Australia or the United Kingdom or Singapore, and you're not able to access, say, spot ETF in your retirement account, but you can buy MicroStrategy. That means it's accessible. Also, there's no fees. A lot of companies like GBTC, etc., take 2.5%. The spot ETF will have a fee too. Futures ETFs have contango, etc. You could argue Bitcoin has no fee, but it depends if you buy it on Coinbase. you're paying a fee, believe me. Also, there is organic Bitcoin accretion, and that means they are able to buy Bitcoin with cash flow from the business. The other tools don't do that. Also, you can get intelligent leverage, and even if Bitcoin goes to zero, there is still the intrinsic value of MicroStrategy there too. And for risk management, there's healthy derivatives. These are things you can't get with other tools. That's why I hold MicroStrategy, because I can hedge and I can sell calls against my position. I can do sophisticated options positions too. And that's what makes it special. So is it better to hold Bitcoin? It depends on who you are. And it depends on how you trade and how you manage risk and how you play the ARB. But I love the versatility of MicroStrategy. And in fact, this whole YouTube channel began with kind of a trade, but this is another trade from a year ago, an options trade. It cost me $9 to get into the position. It's now worth $273. That's a 30 bagger or 3,000% return. And I have not done that once. I've done that like 12 times in the last year as well. So I've got a litany of options positions all across the price spectrum from $190 up to $350 strikes. And it's nice to see it at $450 now. All of these things are printing obscene amounts of money, which is incredible. So anyway, with that, don't forget, if you're short on time, can't watch all the videos, we Substack everything for 10 cents an edition, probably less because we're doing more of that right now. And conclusion, everybody, just as we go forward, and I hope this answered all your questions. If there's more questions I'm not getting to, drop them below. I will respond. But literally, there is always, remember, risk management first, always a 1% chance that Bitcoin could go to zero. Do not have all your eggs in one basket. Balance that risk and reward accordingly. And build multiple paths to retirement. Not just one, but many. And that's what we do here. And I'm glad to see the whole retire on concept is taking off all around the world too on different channels. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I'll be back in about 10 minutes with a macro one. I'm going to be talking about the job market, the data, what it means for the Fed, what it means for interest rates, what it means for the stock market, and what it means for the potential of recession. That'll be in 10 minutes. So thank you all for coming. Appreciate each and every one of you, and have a great weekend. And I'll be back as well, of course, tomorrow with the week recap. See you all soon. Literally very soon. Thanks.